Everybody, welcome to the Cow Emporium. Today we got to go to a bull sale. I know, who wouldn't want to go to a bull sale? So we went to a red Angus bull sale today, and I'm gonna let Glen talk a bit about what we were looking for and why.
Hi, so Annette said that she wanted me to talk a little bit about what we're looking for when we're buying bulls. I guess I'll give you a little history of what the farm has done in the past, so you know what we've done and where we've been. In the 50s, we were pretty big into Herefords, and then they were a big thing for a while. And then my grandfather was pretty big into Charolais when they first started. So we started buying in Charolais and crossing Charolais with the Herefords, and later on we'd throw a few Angus bulls in there from time to time, black Angus, and sometimes we would use a black Angus with a later birth weight just strictly with heifers, and sometimes they would be in with the herd. But basically every so many years we would swap out and get a different breed of bull, and that gives you a certain amount of hybrid vigor, which you don't get with just straight bred cattle. If you cross a Charolais with a Hereford, or like an Angus with a Limousin or something like that, the cross in the breeds produces a more vigorous, healthy, better calf generally than the straight bred animals. So that's why we like to do that. The more distantly the breeds are related, the more you get out of that. So that's why we like to change up the breeds from time to time as a commercial herd, where that's what we do. So from there, at the end of my grandfather's tenure, so to speak, we started switching into Limousin, and we've been doing Limousins for quite a while, crossing them with Angus and with the existing herd that we have, which had some little bit of Charolais and some Hereford and whatnot in there. So it's a bit of a mixed bag, but we've done a lot of Limousin over the past bunch of years, and with good results. But it's just time to switch it up and put another breed in with there to try and keep the bloodlines fresh and keep everything healthy and vigorous. So we were, looking for something that would fit our program that would work. And we have gone with Black Angus in the past. They're a polled breed, which means they don't have horns. And the Limousins we've been using heterozygous polled Limousin, which are basically polled, but our cows still have horn genes. So the odd one will come with horns that we have to take care of at branding, but it's a bit of a nuisance. So when we're buying bulls, we try and we search out ones that have the polled genes, so we don't have horns to deal with. It just makes our life a lot easier, and that's kind of one of the things we look for buying bulls. So over the years, we've used Limousins and Black Angus, so all our bulls have been black. And it's kind of funny, but it does present a problem back in the hills. If everything's black and you're trying to count your bulls to make sure you've got them all, and they all look the same, it's really hard to get a good count to know if you're counting the same one twice or if you've missed one. You say, well, just look at the ear tags, but in the brush back there, the ear tags, they lose them just every year. There's ear tags, they always fall out. And we've tried branding on the hips and stuff like that, just so that we could mark them separate to keep track, but it just isn't practical back in the brush. It's too hard to see what's going on. So having a visually different animal like a red Angus would just make it easier to tell if we've got, the 3 red bulls and two black ones, or whatever it is we decide to run back there, and just makes it easier to keep track. Some of the other things we like to look for when we're looking at bulls is it's nice to get somebody that's fairly close, and somebody that's kind of trustworthy, that you've dealt with and know a little bit about. And you want to have somebody that hasn't put a whole bunch of feed in them, because you can feed a bull really hot feed and get super good rates of gain that look good on paper, but what happens is they burn them out and their feet won't last very long. So you'll have a bull that looks good on paper, and in 4 or 5 years his feet will be falling apart because he's had too hot a feed when he was young. So it's important that they're a certain size, but you don't want to go too crazy on the feed and get them too big. The other things, we like to make sure that, the vet has looked at them and done a test on them to make sure that the semen is okay and they're sound for breeding and all of that. We don't want anything that's too crazy. We're looking for something that we can work around and not have to worry about getting hurt. Yeah, so that's kind of what we're looking for. The birth weights are pretty heritable. So if you get a bull with a low birth weight, he's more likely to have calves that have a low birth weight. So something like in the 70-pound range would work good for heifers, but might be a little bit small for putting with cows. So if you bought an all-purpose bull, you're looking at 80 to 90-pound birth weight probably for our herd. And then you could expect to have all your calves reasonably within that range that, depending on the genes the mother has. And that's a pretty all-purpose bull. If it's with the heifers, it's still okay. And if it's with the cows, they're not too small. If you get a higher birth weight than that, then you need to be careful that maybe you don't put it with your heifers and you just use it with your older cows. That limits the use of the bull to, certain things, and it's maybe nicer to have more options. So we're looking for something that's more of an all-purpose bull right now. Some of the things that you can't tell, even when you look on paper, if you buy a bull, sometimes it's a crapshoot. You don't know if they're the kind of animal that likes to go through the fence always and be on the other side or in with the neighbors, or sometimes you can't tell if they're wild and crazy or have bad habits. That just that's something you find out when you get them home. And the other thing is libido. I mean, he could be, a perfectly good sound bull for breeding and just be lazy. He'll just lay around and not chase the cows around and do his job, and that's not okay either. So you never really know what you're gonna get, but you do your research and you do your best and you try and get something that you think's gonna work, and sometimes it works and sometimes it don't. Another thing is when we're looking at all the performance data, like everything is, anything that's happens in nature is on a bell curve. So at the two narrow ends of the bell curve, you don't necessarily want to buy something that's like at either extreme. You want to have it right in the middle, whether it comes to milking or growth or size or birth weight. All of that stuff is, you're better off to be in the middle. You want it to be on the plus side of the bell curve, so you're improving your herd, but you don't want to go crazy, because when you get outside too far outside of the middle of the bell, then even though it looks good on paper, you'll find there's problems down the road. So better than average is good, but too good isn't necessarily a good thing either. So anyway, that's kind of what we look for when we're buying bulls. Everybody's got a different idea what the perfect bull is as far as structure goes. I mean, head too small and hips too big is not a good thing, but if the hips aren't big enough, then they don't have a lot of meat on the back end, and guys don't like that. But if they're too big, then they get hung up and you have hip lock calves, and that's not good. So there again, you want to right in the middle of the bell curve and try and find something that's going to match your cows and get to know your breeder, and buy the best stock you can afford and hope for the best.